So you can go into detail there about how that's going to help you. So at that point, you can pause the video, try working on your formulate section before coming to the next section, which is the solve. So you may choose to pause now before I go through the next section. So the next section is solve. So this is where you will demonstrate discerning application, meaning very well put together application. Now, you may need simple through to complex mathematical concepts that you've learnt in class and techniques that will be relevant to the task. You will also be marked on whether you accurately use these procedures to reach a valid solution and whether you are accurately and appropriately using technology. So this is all the technology section that you're going to be displaying in your solve section. So it will be things like tables and figures and potentially, Excel screenshots that you've taken. So the aspects to consider in this part is what calculations other than and other mathematical procedures do you need to do. So you will be specifying, you will be creating and developing personal budgets in Excel. So that's one of the procedures that you will need to be doing. So again, refer back to your last paragraph of your formulate section to decide what kind of mathematical procedures you're going to be doing. Now, it does say to develop a personal budget in Excel for each year of your degree. So we would assume that you have a couple of budgets going in your solve section. If your degree is a 4-year degree, you're probably going to have about 4 years worth of budgets, one per year. So that's what we would expect to see. In these Excel budgets, you will want to be putting the formulas. Now, that's a very important part, and put these formulas in the appendix. Again, if you don't know how to do your formulas, it's a really quick, easy way. You just go Control Squiggle, and that puts it into formula mode. That is what we want to see, because all of your formulas will be an important feature within your Excel spreadsheets. And it's important to put that in the appendix. Very, very important for you to do that. So the budgets that you will want to create is also 2 major ones. So you may even have up to 8 or like information for each year of your degree, as well as what the income is and what the living expenses are, or really that's probably in just one budget. Your budget will be weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and yearly, all in one for the income. And that would include things, income from the government as well as your casual job. And you will want weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and yearly living expenses within your budget as well. Now, that includes things like transport, accommodation, as in rent, what food the student will be eating, what entertainment and discretionary items that they will be needing to live comfortably out of the family home. Now, you should, within your budget, consider the potential increase of living expenses due to inflation. So again, that's probably why you will need up to 3 to 4 budgets, because it's one per year of your degree, including you will want to have some inflation in there. If you can put that in, we would highly recommend you putting that in. So again, we envisage that you will probably have up to 3 to 4 budgets within your solve section. Mostly it will be due to each year of your degree. Again, the yearly income versus expenses will be within that single year budget as well. Also within that budget is the solution to your problem, because you want weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and yearly savings. So that's going to give you an indication about how the problem has developed and what you're going to be left with at the end of the 4 years. So have you checked your calculations and other working is accurate? It's a requirement that your solution is supported with the use of appendices and references. So we don't want to just think that, you've just made up some kind of a food amount from, just thin air. We want a bit of evidence there. So some of the appendices may include pictures that you've found from the internet to give you some information about maybe how much some of these things might cost a university student. And again, the appendices, we would like you to be putting that formula mode in from Excel. So hopefully that makes sense. We're having a number of budgets that include income, living expenses and savings for each year of your degree, including potential expenses due to inflation. So that's where you would pause the solve section and potentially watch or listen to the solve section again before I look at the evaluate and verify section. So you would pause now. In the evaluate and verify section, this is where you will consider all your solutions and evaluate your solutions and tell us how reasonable you think they are. You would consider what the solution told you, your original assumptions and observations. You would talk about what the strengths and limitations of your model is or any of your solutions are. And you'd also justify any of the decisions that you've made using some mathematical reasoning. So that's what we're looking for in your work. That's what we're going to be marking you on. So aspects to consider. Does your solution address all aspects of the task and the answer to the question? So before you finish the solve section, you should really have an answer to say whether you think it's viable or not. So then you can talk about this in the evaluate and verify section. So your answer will in fact determine whether the senior schooling team deems it possible for a full-time university student to live independently and not work during the academic periods. And hopefully if they can do that, they're not going to incur financial debt by the time their degree finishes. So your solution is pretty much the answer to how senior schooling wish to publish like what they've found. Do they think it's recommendable to tell students who leave Southport to move out of the family home, or do they think it's better for them to stay at home while studying? So that's your choice. Whatever answer you come up with, that's what your solution will be talking about. How do we know our solution will be reasonable? So again, you can think about all the different things you've gone through to make your answer reasonable, and whether this is the evaluating stage. So evaluating is really weighing up whether you think it's a viable option. The next section is how have the original assumptions and observations that you've spoken about affected your result? So you may find that some of the original assumptions and observations may have dramatically affected how you've put your solution together. Again, this is probably where you have a chance to get those higher marks to figure out how the assumptions and observations that you have spoken about really have contributed to the value or the reasonableness of your solution. We also want you to think about your assumptions and observations. So what are the strengths of the model or the solution that you've come up with? And what are the limitations of the model and or solution of your problem? So you can, in fact, just do the solution if you want. What are the strengths and limitations of the solution that you came up with? Or you can do what are the strengths and limitations of all the different models that you used. In fact, you can do both if you choose to do both as well. And the last dot point, could your solution or your models be improved? Is there anything that you would like to discuss, whether you think it was viable or it wasn't viable? It probably could have to do with your limitations. So you may like to check your limitations again to see if you could improve your model, because you may have found that there was quite a few limitations. And if you thought about how those limitations could be addressed, that would be how you answer that question. So again, it's fairly hard to get a good result in Evaluate and Verify. You really need to be considering all of these things to help you across the line for the Evaluate and Verify section. I believe it is out of 5 points here. So you could get a maximum of 5 out of 5 for the Evaluate and Verify section. So pausing the video now if you would like to listen to this part again. The final grade that we will be looking at is all your communication. Now, please don't put at the end of your report a communicate paragraph. We've seen that quite a lot in previous years. So this isn't about let's put a communication paragraph at the end. That would be what's called a conclusion. The communication is just how you put your response together, and we will be looking for things that you have done, how you organise your findings into a response that's appropriate to the genre, so your report format, so writing it in a report. We also want coherent and concise, so we don't want a whole bunch of repetition. We want nice, clear language as well that really explains what you're talking about. Again, we want to see introduction, body, and conclusion in your report, and we want some appropriate technical and procedural vocabulary, so using some of the words that we use when we're dealing with budgets and inflation and things like that, as well as all the different conventions that we will be using. So that's things like percentages and dollar signs and all those kind of things as well. So the questions here under aspects to consider are: how will you structure your response to communicate your findings? So again, that's up to you how well you've labelled your tables, how well you've labelled everything in your report. Is it easy to read and follow what you're trying to do for the reader? What resources did you use? So we don't want to see work that is not referenced. So you really need to be referencing your work. If you do find images off the internet or information off the internet, they do need to be put into a reference list, as well as the sources for your data. Again, referencing and providing credit where credit is due for whoever originally wrote it. So that's our video to explain your assignment. We will be coming back to the classroom in week 3, and in that time we will also be looking for doing a little bit of work around Excel and budgeting. So please be prepared to bring your laptop in week 3 with access to Excel or numbers, whatever you're choosing to use, so that we can give you a little bit of guidance around using those programs as well. So good luck for the time being. We would probably want you to be working in and around the formulate section by the time we're coming back to school. So again, replaying this video, when you need to stop it and start it, you can do that, and your teachers are only an email away, as well as there is a discussion board on eLearn under, I think it's called discussion board, so you can start some threads there to talk to your classmates as well if you have any questions. Okay, good luck with your preparation for the assignment. Thank you.